The World Cup year of 2013 is almost over. It's been an eventful 12 months in rugby league. Wigan were the dominant force in league and cup, and double-winning coach Shaun Wane will give us his take on a remarkable year.
The players have been fantastic in understanding and setting goals for us and what we wanted to do this season.
Huddersfield's Danny Brough was the player of the season. We'll hear from Super League's Man of Steel.
Trying to play good every week, it's a tough job, and in the past I haven't done that, and this year I've really knuckled down a bit and it's paid off.
Warrington's master craftsman has played his last game. Lee Briers reflects on a legendary career.
It's a bit strange knowing that I can never ever pull a pair of boots on again to play rugby league.
And we're off and running with Salford Red Devils, who have big targets for the new year.
With the addition of one or two players we're bringing in, we have to be looking at a top 4 place.
Nice soft hands, guys.
There may be a couple of weeks left of 2013, but Wigan are already gearing up for 2014 and the World Club Challenge. It's been quite some year for the Cherry and Whites, who won the Challenge Cup and the Super League title.
An absolutely scintillating try. Charlie with the ball up to the inside, and Charlie scoops away for an absolutely fabulous try. And his coach loves it. Good finish. This is Charlie Shaw. Charlie's chasing back, takes the tackle. Tompkins comes in off it. Sam Tompkins wins it for Wigan. The Grand Final 2013. 3 tries for Warrington without Wigan touching the ball. And Golding scores the try. And up from Nomi Hart goes Michael McNamara. They turned it right around. And Green with a try that might just win it for Wigan. Pat Richards will have a try. It is Wigan at the double in 2013.
Well, an incredible season for Wigan. With me is coach Shaun Wane. Shaun, has it sunk in, or when did it sink in what you'd achieved?
To be honest, Tanya, I enjoyed the weekend after. You know, it was a few days after the grand final win when I sat back and realised that we'd achieved something special, and it was really enjoyable, you know, not just for me but for all the staff who worked really hard throughout the year. And I know I'm up there with the players as head coach and leading the staff, but there's a lot of people behind me what do a lot of good work, and the players are bought into everything we've tried to do, and it's been a real good season, very enjoyable, and I want to do it again.
So when you look back at 2012, what was it you took from 2012 and the disappointments that you had there to kick you on into 2013?
To be honest, Tanya, we didn't perform in big games, and you know, I looked after the players more in 2013 and making sure that they were fresh for big games as well. So I slightly changed things on team selection, and I slightly tweaked how we were going to play. But the players have been fantastic in understanding and setting goals for us and what we wanted to do last season, and the way it panned out, it worked really well for us.
How much did you use as well as motivation of people writing you off because of the players that you'd lost at the end of 2012?
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I understand that. It was good motivation for me personally, you know, because I know everybody wrote us off before the Warrington game and the final as well. So, you know, for me personally, you know, I understand they're entitled to their opinion, and I know the reasons why they did write us off. But inside the bubble here, and everything's kept private, and we knew what we could do. You know, we had some good performances, and we had some indifferent performances last year, but I knew in big games we could perform, and that was the most satisfying thing.
Was there, though, a slight element of relief for you when you got that Challenge Cup, you'd got that first trophy?
Yeah, Yeah, I'd be lying here if it was a big day for us. That big day for the club, and big day for me, and just to get one big cup over the line, and it was good for the players to understand what we needed to do. We needed to complete, and we needed to end our sets well, and we needed to do all the little 1%ers really well, and we did that. And we come up against Warrington, a great team. Leeds and Huddersfield, huge games against great teams, but we just knew what we needed to do and keep hold of the ball and finish the sets in our way. So and it worked, Tanya.
How did you juggle that? Because it is so difficult to get them to peak for the Challenge Cup final and then come through for that grand final. Yeah,
I do understand now why it's so difficult to do a double, because the emotion of the Challenge Cup is huge, as you know, and we struggled the week after and the week after that, and then once we started to get into the playoffs and the must-win games, the players have been great. They understood. Training changed, a bit more intense. Team meetings and video what we went through was more detailed, and the players really changed in their attitude, and it was good to see. At the end of the day, as Leeds have proved, you don't have to finish top to win a cup, and we finished fourth, and we did okay in the two big games. So we've learned a lot, and hopefully it'll put us in good stead for this year.
How worried were you at half-time in the grand final?
Honestly, I felt really confident. Me and yesterday had a discussion walking down to the changing room, and I understand we hadn't played really well, but we did bomb 3 tries, hadn't played well, and Warrington always have a 20-minute spell when they're unstoppable, and they had that spell in the first half. So I just went in very calm with the players and said, is everybody okay? Do we all know we can win this game? And they've had the 20 minutes and we've bombed 3 tries. If we keep hold of the ball, you'll get your rewards, and as it happened, it worked out. Everything I said was which doesn't normally happen, but it did that day, and it was the feeling of walking down, knowing we won the game right at the end, and Pat Richards scored, is probably the best feeling I've ever had.
It was one of those days, wasn't it? You couldn't have written that script.
No. The way the game worked out, Tanya, was the way we predicted to the players, and that was the most satisfying thing. Pat Richards' last game, Lee Mossop, Chris Tewson, who didn't play. I was really desperate to finish with a double for them. Going to Australia and doing what they're doing with other clubs. So me personally, I've known them players for many years, and they're all very close to me. I love them to pieces, and to send them away with a ring as well as a medal was really satisfying for me.
You didn't mention Sam Tompkins as well. You are losing some big names again.
Yeah, and I'll get all the questions again about we're going to struggle. Yeah, huge, player Sam. He's done lots of good for this club. He played some great games, but so has Chris Tewson, so has Lee Mossop. Some really big name players. But Matty Bowen is a big player. He's played in some big games. He's played in the ground of the NRL for many years. And I'm very happy with the 2 London lads. We made some good signings, and I'm very happy with John Bateman. So, we're losing some real talent, but we need to coach these new players into our system and let them understand the culture of Wigan, and they'll be more than a good asset to us.
So if you combine the lessons that you learned from 2012 in terms of looking after the players and the lessons you learnt in 2013, what do you take into 2014?
Yeah, I feel a lot more confident in you don't have to put your best team out. I want to see the kids play more. And we have some fantastic talent here. So that sort of thing where I'm really confident with resting players, putting new kids in, and using the 30-odd players, and I'm going to give some more debuts out this year, and that's the sort of thing I'll never change from that, Tanya. I want to have that same message to all the players, that if you turn up and train well, I'll give you a chance, and if you play well, you'll stay in the team no matter what age you are. And my stance on that will never ever change, and I've got a chairman who supports me on that as well, so it's a win-win for me.
Wigan's double success brought the curtain down on a domestic season that featured some fabulous tries.
Outstanding athleticism by Callum Watkins.
There was controversy.
Steve, as soon as he came in, stuck his hand up and said, look, I've made a mistake.
Some new stars emerged, and some old favourites said goodbye. Tony Smith's Warrington made it all the way to the grand final with some eye-catching tries along the way.
Myler threading his way through in electrifying style.
Mickey Hyam earned many admirers, rolling back the years through the Warrington middle. He hit a century of career Super League tries in the match at Hull. The Wolves took early control in the grand final before losing the services of Joel Monaghan and Stefan Ratchford to injury. Warrington finished runners-up for the second season in a row.
You know, there was some tears shed, and we're disappointed for some of the boys that are leaving, that we couldn't send them off on different notes. But, you know, we'd rather be at Old Trafford having lost than not be here at all.
Saints endured a slow start under new coach Nathan Brown. A home hammering by Huddersfield, one of 2 defeats in the opening 5 weeks. Johnny Lomax emerged as the successor to Paul Wellens at fullback, and eventually Saints found their form.
Roby's the man up at dummy half. Lomax has joined in as well here. Quick hands by him. And the opening try is for Jordan Turner.
There was plenty to shout about for the Saints in the playoffs, where there was a dramatic game against Leeds.
And Manners down again on a run to the line. And Hallmaker can't hold him up. St Helens 11.
Danny Maguire's drop goal left Saints stunned.
It's heartbreaking to go down like we did, but on the other side, you know, the guys can feel super proud of their effort and their commitment for each other. And yeah, but it was a great game of footy. But unfortunately for us, obviously you lose and you're out, and fortunately for Leeds, they celebrate.
The defending champions Leeds Rhinos finished 3rd in the Super League table, their highest regular season placing under Brian McDermott.
Here's Callum Watkins. Stepped on a search by him. Oh, he's through the tackle. Through the first set of tackles here, and a sidestep on Carney. And now it's about pace. And Callum Watkins just avoids the last-ditch effort and scores a wonderful Leeds try.
Jamie Peacock earned a nomination for Man of Steel, international retirement allowing him to focus on club rugby league.
Some of the things he did last year were remarkable, and he's always had the ability to do remarkable things. You know, he's played 80 minutes in a grand final before. You know, not many people can do those things at such a stage. Well, you know, just last year he just churned those massive performances out week in, week out.
Jamie Peacock is into the gap.
It was a memorable year in Huddersfield, where the Giants finished top of Super League in the regular season for the first time in 81 years. They were guided around the field by captain Danny Brough, who finished as Man of Steel.
Individual magic and dynamism. Danny Brough.
Trying to play good every week, it's a tough job, and in the past I haven't done that, and this year I've really knuckled down a bit and had help along the way, and it's paid off.
He's our leader, captain on the field, and he's doing well off the field as well. But I've seen a massive change now. He's matured as a player, and how he controls the game now, as well as just kicking the ball at the end of sets and things like that. So obviously I've received some nice passes off him and stuff like that. So I've big rats on going this year. It's been brilliant for us.
When you're playing good teams, and there's a lot of good players around that make you look good as well, and just to pop up now and then and do something good for the team, it's pretty good, and try and be a leader and help everybody along.
Sparkling by the Giants.
I think his temperament's been great this year. I think that could have been under question before, Danny Brough's temperament, but when you see him playing well with that nice even keel, I think that's key to his good performances at the moment.
That's talking to Broughy, and what he's done, he's found himself a bit of a home, hasn't he, where the crowd love him. He can't seem to do no wrong in people's eyes, and he's got a lot of stability with long-term contracts and things like that, so he's got to make the best out of what he's got here, and he's certainly doing that at the moment.
A bit more dedication and wanting to do something all the time, instead of trying one week and this week it's steady away and all that. Where I've knuckled down and really enjoyed it. My family life's good, and it's just I'm in a good place at the moment.
He's matured a lot this year, and that's proved to his game to be vital. He's just matured on the field, and like I say, just kicking the ball along is his best trait. And like I say, he's brought our team on massively, and hopefully it'll continue.
It's another very clever kick and another easy try by Aaron Murphy.
Brough is an outstanding player. He's like carried us in a lot of games, but he shines out. But there's a lot of hard work that goes on off the ball with us boys that make him stand out as well. But he is a special player, probably the best in Super League.
Perez in his left channel here with a dummy. A support from Danny Brough, who scores himself this time.
Proper half-back, isn't he? He's a cheeky chap. He's a really nice kid. He's obviously real light-hearted. He's got a good work ethic around as well. So he's been really good this year and a really good buy for Huddersfield.
Funny guy, he's the centre of everything. He's always hammering all the boys and stuff. He keeps us together, and you know it's good for the team, good for morale and everything.
What he does is he leads by example on the field, and he leads with his efforts, and that's what we want to get in place. The great leaders always, it was never words that was spoken, it was always the actions that they did, and that's what he does. He leads with actions, and that's why he's in that position. And what he's done is certainly thrived on that responsibility and shown in his maturity on the field as well.
Well, a great season for the Huddersfield Giants and Danny Brough. With me is Earl Crabtree, of course, of the Huddersfield Giants. Earl, what was it about Danny Brough this season, do you think?
To be honest, I think it's just the fact that he stepped up, and it was his opportunity this year. He became our captain, and I think he took that extra responsibility, and he realised that he had to do something with it as well. And overall, I think I was just impressed with the way that he adapted in training to that new position. It was fantastic for us. He led by example in every game, 100%. And he went on to win just about absolutely everything, apart from an England cap. And I think he'd be disappointed with that himself. But at the same time, I think all the Giants and all the fans knew what he was capable of, and very proud of his achievements.
Everybody kept writing you off, everybody kept saying, at some point it's going to slip, at some point it's going to slip. How much did that motivate you guys?
It was a good motivator. I think we really enjoyed that position as well, and me personally, I like to play along with it as long as we possibly could, and we went throughout the whole of the season saying that we're going to taper off at any second now, and we know it's going to happen. It's just we hope it doesn't, and you know, in the end we proved everybody wrong, and that's what it's all about. You know, we're a good team, and we've had a lot of changes in the last couple of years, and we were a team that's almost in transition with the coaches coming in, the players that are coming in. And that sort of went missing. No one really talked about that, and just being written off. So it was really nice to sort of stick it to those people, but at the same time we was proud within ourselves and knew exactly what we needed to do to achieve something, and fortunately last year we did that. And
what did it mean to you to finally get your hands on some silverware?
Well, it's only took me 13 years to actually win anything serious, so it's been a long time coming, and I've enjoyed the journey that the Giants have taken, that I've taken. At the same time, I think I was probably the only one in the stadium that wasn't really celebrating. I didn't have this massive euphoria or anything like that. It was almost a little bit of relief. That's all I was really fussed about. I didn't even get a photo in the celebrations with the champagne or anything. I think I was at the side just thinking, thank God for that. And now that eases the pressure almost, and I can't wait now just to get out there with the new lads that have come in, the team that we've got together this year. Is probably a little bit better than last year, so hopefully we can just go a little bit further.
Well, 2013 wasn't just about Super League. At the end of the year, we turned our attentions to the international game and the Rugby League World Cup.
The World Cup in all its glittering glory.
Good luck indeed. Let the big show begin.
So many matchups to make the mouth water. Who's the best of the beast? Is this going to be the finisher?
An outrageous rugby league try. So entertaining.
Paul has got a hat-trick. Oh, what the miracle pass.
Thurston going through. Superb try.
One of the great tries.
There's a big moment.
John Johnson. With literally seconds to play. What a performance. It's Slater, who's up and over. Australia, world class and world champions again.
Well, the World Cup went better than I guess any of us could have hoped.
Totally agree. I think it was a fantastic World Cup, and the attendance has just proved to everybody how good it was. And the games probably at times weren't spectacular, but even though they weren't, we still got the attendances there, and I think that was a massive thing we all expected, and I think I did anyway, especially that we will mess it up. You know, for the RFL, I'm sure they won't do the job properly, and you've got to give them full credit. I thought everybody pitched in together, and I was part of the promotion team as well, and we did everything we could to try and raise the awareness almost of the World Cup, and it seemed to work well. And I think the only people trying to jeopardise it all was actually the England team a couple of times, but even they in the end were absolutely superb.
So what do they do to bridge the gap with Australia, who were magnificent, weren't they?
Oh, they were ridiculous. I think that's the only way that you can sort of sum that team up. And watching them, they just didn't even break stride, really. They just marched on forward, just broke teams down so easily. And against, again, the Kiwis in the end, far too good, superior, and almost a different level. The only team that really tested them and scored against them were England. We're not too far away, and I think if we maybe look at a few little things, I'm sure that we'll be there soon enough anyway. We are getting closer, and I think this competition has proved that.
Vital, isn't it, that the game builds on what has been such a successful tournament? What do you want to see them do?
I'd like to see some more youth set up. I think this is something that's really missing in our game, and there's a few little differences within the system that we play in where there's no real 20s, and if you get to a certain age you go missing, and that's a massive loss for rugby league. A lot of players go from 19s and then just go missing because they can't get in the first team. There's a few little gaps that need to be bridged. Apart from that, we just need to keep it going and just keep everything we are doing well, keep that going and just add a few little bits, but also we need the support as well. We need backers, we need the likes of Bradford, who have been in trouble before, Wakefield, who have been in trouble, having to sell players. We don't want that. We need people to come into this game, and we need to try and raise the profile, keep it going and build from what we've already done.
It was on the morning of the England-Fiji game that we got the sad news that Steve Prescott, the former Hull, St Helens and Wakefield fullback, had died. He'd battled a long illness and was just 39.
2006, he was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer and, you know, given months to live.
Prescott doesn't miss this time. Great finish from the fullback.
5-6 years later, and I'm running marathons and doing endurance events. So you just got to take each day as it comes, and you just keep going and get on with life.
To do what he's done, it's just beyond belief. It's superhuman. I can't understand how he's managed to do it, but he did.
You've cycled through France, cycled through the UK up to London, and rode the Atlantic, and now you've run the marathon. And Steve, tell us what time you did.
I got a new personal best today in the London Marathon. I can't believe it. I think we've rewrote the running manual to, training preparation for a marathon this week, haven't we? Rode the English Channel the day before the marathon. You run a personal best.
He's just a phenomenal man. The way he's dealt with his illness over the last 7 or 8 years has just been so inspirational. And certainly lesser people would have dealt with it differently. But Steve has constantly fought, and like I say, he's just a huge inspiration to everybody, and he's going to be sad the best.
He was an absolutely brilliant rugby league player, and probably remember him in that light, and for the achievements and probably the money and the good that he's created for everybody else.
This lad can run, Prescott, he's got no ball, shocking him across field. Oh, he beats him. Oh, man to man. Oh, he's just pushed him to touch in the corner. But a magnificent run there from Prescott. He has Pearce oozing out of his boots.
Cancer hospitals need help and support, so that's why I chose the Christie Hospital. The Rugby League Benevolent Fund now, Tri-Assist, needs people like ourselves to promote it, to expand.
I had to do something for rugby league, because rugby league's been my life. It's been my family's life. My dad played rugby as well. So that's what we've done it for, to help other people. If we can help them, it's all worth it.
Earl, an incredible man who will leave quite some legacy, won't he?
I hope so, and I think that's something that Rugby League really needs to make sure of as well. Fantastic achievements that he's had over the years, not only as a rugby player but off the field, raising money for different charities and making sure that he did the best he could, and under the circumstances, being ill and doing what he's done under those circumstances, that situation is unreal, and we should be proud of that, and it's something that we should celebrate. And there's even been a lot of talk of changing the Man of Steel award in his name, the Steve Prescott Award. And for me personally, I do think that'd be fitting tribute to someone who is so special within not only rugby league but around the world now. He's a recognised face and a recognised figure, and I think it would be absolutely brilliant.
Hull FC lost star signing Gareth Ellis to injury before the season had even kicked off. But in Tom Lynham and Ben Crooks, they unearthed two of the young players of the season.
Crooks is going to go the distance with an absolutely sensational try.
But the Black and Whites saved their worst performances for their biggest games. Beaten 16-0 at Wembley in the Challenge Cup final, coach Peter Gentle left after a record-breaking 76 points to 18 playoff defeat at Huddersfield.
We've let a lot of people down tonight with that performance. Not only ourselves, but our fans, the club, everyone. It's going to be a long off-season carrying that around.
Catalan had a new coach in Laurent Fresneau, and an injury to Brent Webb gave an opportunity to Morgan Escarret. The fullback earned a nomination for Young Player of the Year with 14 tries in his debut season. But it was a player at the other end of his career who grabbed the headlines. At the age of 39, Steve Menzies decided to call it a day.
I think one of my biggest fears was playing a season too long and people sort of looking and say, you know, he used to be a good player, what's he doing? Whether I could play another season, not too sure. I don't think I could play another full season. It was always sort of coming at just the right time for the kid's age, and it's worked out pretty well.
Hull KR recovered from an incorrect call at the Magic weekend and made it back to the playoffs with some big wins on the road. There were wins in the south of France and at Headingley, but they'll have to cope next year without playmaker Michael Dobson, who returns to Australia.
I built my career over here. I've got the Super League to thank for that, and yeah, I'm going to miss it because I've enjoyed my time in Hull with my partner. We've got a lot of friends there. It's going to be disappointing, but yeah, on to new horizons.
Francis Cummings took control of team affairs at Bradford, and the Bulls got off to a flying start, but ultimately failed to make the top 8. The Bulls are once again under new ownership, but financial problems still dominate.
Not too many minutes left to play. Lestrange now shifts it to his right. Here's Sidlow, shaken one away, and Adam Sidlow is in for the try. Well, look how much that means to all those on the bench.
We had a great start, and right up until Easter, but we did say there's no point being third at Easter and finishing wherever. That tailed off, but we've got that knowledge now. We've got the knowledge of where we were and being more efficient. Then there was probably 4 or 5 games that we could have and should have won. We threw away by lack of concentration, but at an average age of 24, so it all works in our favour. As long as we're learning from our mistakes, we will get better.
And Elliot Keir, the Welshman, to score.
When the 2014 season kicks off in a couple of months' time, there'll be someone missing from the Warrington squad for the first time in 17 years. Lee Briers has had to call it a day, and this place just won't be the same without him.
It's a bit strange knowing that I can never ever pull a pair of boots on again to play rugby league. I knew it was going to come one day, and you kind of prepare yourself for that day, and unfortunately I wasn't prepared. Obviously I had the neck injury early on in the season. Cindy, specialist, and he said, you can't play for 3 months, and we did different things in rehab, and gladly we got it right. And then, unfortunately, we played London, I think it was in Gillingham, and I took quite a bit of a whiplash. I hit my head on the floor, and pins and needles started again. I started noticing that my hands were cramping up. I kept it to myself. I let the physio know as much as he needed to know, and played the grand final, hopefully to get a grand finals winning ring. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and I went for a scan afterwards and knew I had to. And 5th of November, the dreaded news was you can never play again, and brought down in tears. I'm not really big into regrets and stuff, and I've got to look forward and look at the positives of my career. In the 18 years I've been playing at the top level, and You would have thought that when I first started out at Saints. Moving to Warrington was the best thing that ever happened to me. 17 years on, and I'm still in love with the place. You have to go through difficult times to come out the other end and be successful, and we've certainly done that. There was times where we didn't get paid, to times now where probably one of the richest clubs in rugby league. The facilities, the staff, the club itself, the supporters, it's a million miles away, and I want to change it from the world. The memories, what you can look back and think, wow, that is special. Captain in Warrington was an unbelievable honour. The World Cup for Wales in 2000 was an unbelievable experience. Obviously, the back end is the Challenge Cups, which everybody knows about. To win the first one was the best feeling ever. I've lost in, I think, 4 semi-finals beforehand. So you're thinking, geez, when's I'm going to actually win one? But you never lose belief.
Lifting that trophy aloft.
Goosebumps, you know. I'll never ever replicate that ever again, knowing that I can't play. But to win it at Wembley was amazing experience. The elation after that game was fantastic.
Players will go for the drop goal. What a kick!
Whenever I picked a ball up from being a kid, I'd always be on the field saying, Breers has got this to kick to win the Challenge Cup final in the last minute at Wembley. Put pressure on myself and kick it. I still do now. Still do with my son. Fortunately or unfortunately, that we've been in that situation many times, and yeah, I'm just glad that I've put the practice in to do that. I understand that there's going to be ups and downs in my life. I can't do it anymore. I've only lived to play. But I've got strong people around me at the club, and getting through all them games, 450 odd games, and I'm really proud to say I've done that.
Well, we're here at St Helens, where Lee Briers, of course, started his career. With me is John Wilkin. John, he's going to be a huge miss, isn't he? A great player to watch.
Yeah, I think there's very few players who have a real natural instinct to be able to play the game, to understand how to, you know, find the right pass, the right kick, and create space for his teammates. Now, Lee Briers has, you know, been one of the finest exponents of those skills. He'll be a huge miss for Super League. He's a great personality, one. You know, he's got bags of character. He's not a machine, and he's got all the skills that, you know, a great halfback should have, and he's a great guy to watch on the field. Not so good to play against sometimes.
How do you think Warrington will be without him? Because he's been such a pivotal figure for them.
I think in terms of their creativity, yeah, it will leave quite a big hole. I think there's going to be a lot more pressure on the likes of Myler and Ratchford, and obviously the dummy half, whoever that may be. But yeah, he'll be a huge loss, because a lot of the organisation and the talk, the things that the fan and the people on the street can't see is his communication skills, his ability to organise the Warrington team. Now that's gone, and everybody else will have to pick up the slack. And Richie Myler's a young guy, and I expect him to take over a lot of the responsibilities that Lee had.
Really key, isn't it, though, that Steve Menzies, Lee Briers are staying in the game? How important do you think that is for rugby league to keep those stars?
Without doubt, yeah. I think there's an issue in the game that we've maybe lost these people in the past. Retention of our stars into other roles within the game is really important. You know, Lee Briers knows things about the game that really need to be passed on to our young coaches, our younger players, and you know, I think it's great that he can do that. And Steve Menzies has got such a wealth of experience across, you know, 2 competitions, 3 countries, and also the ability to adapt his game as time's gone on, and those skills and the experiences need to be passed on to people in the game, and we need to learn from them. And you know, I'm really encouraged that they're going to still be involved in the game.
So no Lee Briers for Warrington, but plenty of ins and outs as the clubs look to reshuffle So obviously quite a few ins and outs at different clubs. Let's start with your own St Helens. Obviously you've had quite a few players coming in and a new halfback.
Yeah, Luke Walsh, I think he's a fantastic player. He's been absolutely essential part of the Penrith team in the NRL, and to get somebody of Luke Walsh's calibre coming over to this country and in the modern climate of exchange rates and the inflated salary cap in Australia, to get a player like him of his quality to come over to this country is a massive boost for our club. The other guy is Mossy Massot. Now, you couldn't get two more opposite characters. Luke Walsh is relatively small and almost dainty in the way that he conducts himself. And then we've got Mossy Massot. Anybody who watched the World Cup and has seen any of the Simone performances in the World Cup will know that he's not subtle. There's no subtlety about the way he plays the game at all.
Looking at some of the other moves, Tom Briscoe to Leeds is an interesting one. How do you think he'll fare?
I think he's such a good carrier of the ball. Tom Briscoe is renowned for, getting out of dummy half and causing a bit of chaos, playing the ball quickly, making a lot of clean breaks during the game. And if you think you've got Ryan Hall and Tom Briscoe in the same team, Leeds are going to be a very difficult side to stop from getting out of their half. Just those two guys alone carrying the ball can make some metres and cause some damage. I think it's going to be a challenge for him because it's a new club and a new system, and he'll have to settle in. And there's also some competition at Leeds, isn't there, in those backs? There's a number of players who can play a number of positions, and it'll be interesting for the people outside of the Leeds squad to see how all those guys fit into the Leeds team come the start of the year. But Tom's a class player and somebody who's attracted a lot of attention from overseas. And one of the most pleasing things for me is that Tom Briscoe has decided to stay in this country, and we'll see him in Super League again next year.
Well, it was here at Langtree Park back in July that St Helens and Wigan served up what was arguably the match of the season. It was a dramatic derby with some great moments.
Here's O'Brien at the back of the scrum. They're going to search down that blind side, and here's Swift, who's got a bit of room here, and Adam Swift is over. Well, what a return for Adam Swift. Well, they've got the chance to really have a go here at this Wigan line. Carried in by Pulatour. Howarth's the man at dummy half. Again, they're looking left, and they might have got some numbers here, and Lomax creating another one for Adam Swift. What a night! 2 tries already, but this one is given because James Child is going for the video here. Now, having a look for the obstruction, did Lomax take that catch on the outside shoulder of his man? And was Matty Smith guilty of moving in? The try is given. Ian Smith, the video referee, says it is a try. And St Helens are off to a flyer here, already into double figures, and 2 for Adam Swift. McAlorum stands and waits. Wigan desperate to get themselves on the board here if they can. Quick hands from Farrell. Pat Richards in at the corner. Wigan do have their opening try. One bright star missing tonight, but another in Ryan Hampshire making his mark for Wigan. Beginning to build again here. It's a tough old tackle going in. But Wigan back to the middle. Matty Smith with a high kick. Josh Charnley's underneath it. It's bounced, and Charnley touches down. But there has to be a question mark here. Who did this hit? Did Charnley get a hand to this, or did it come off the St Helens man? Well, it looks like it's come off Swift here. Let's have a look at this again. If this angle gives a clearer indication. Well, it looks as though Charnley's not got a touch, and Swift has knocked it backwards. So the try is given. And Wigan have their second. Much needed as well. Well, the kick hoisted high, and Charnley's been complaining of a hand injury. Forgetting that for the moment to make sure he scored. Logan Tompkins. Wigan having to do the hard yards again from deep inside their own half. Tompkins up at dummy half again. Looking for a bit of space on this right-hand side. Oh, that's good footwork from Hampshire again. And a wonderful pass from Hampshire. And here's Charnley to put the foot down and score an absolutely scintillating try. Well, Ryan Hampshire is capturing the headlines tonight Here he is, try-maker with a wonderfully flicked pass. And Charnley, as ever, the efficient finisher. It's a very good score. And they're coming through in numbers again here. Here's Lomax trying to create the overlap. Melly. That's Swift on his outside. Well, the referee is going back here because there's been a shoulder charge, he says, on Gareth O'Brien. Well, you can see that it was a late challenge from Scott Taylor. And Gareth O'Brien might have played his last here tonight. He's looking distinctly groggy. Big kick for Makinson. Over it goes. Another two for St Helens. And they find themselves back level again. Left it's moved. Here's Gelling. They're on the sixth tackle here, by the way. Pat Richards. Pat Richards! What about that? Unbelievable! Pat Richards with a drop goal to edge Wigan ahead, and it came from absolutely nowhere. You will never see a more splendid drop goal than that. Outrageous from Pat Richards. What a moment from the Wigan winger. Here's Wellens. Hammered forward again by McCarthy Scarsbrook, who's been having a terrific game. And there's trouble here for Wigan because it's going to be a penalty here. Gil Dodson hammering away at McCarthy Scarsbrook here. Have a look at this. Trying to get him off, and you can't do that. You can't do that.
Second penalty against you for an innocent foul play. You can't go beating someone's arm like that. Okay, if you're trapped in, that's fine. Can't do that. Listen, second penalty goes against you. It's a series of penalties against the team. You're now on a team warning.
Team warning for Wigan, so one more, and they could find themselves in big trouble. Big kick for Makinson to give St Helens the lead again. Oh, he's pulled it wide. Well, Gareth O'Brien off the pitch and Tommy Makinson missing what could be a crucial penalty. Here's Wellens. Listen to the noise inside Langtree Park now. As St Helens come in another wave here. Turner gets the offload. It's a scruffy one. Richards drops on it, but it's another penalty. Another penalty for St Helens. And he's sin-binned. Green is sin-binned for offside. And because it's a team warning, he has to spend 10 minutes in the sin bin. Wigan down to 12. Advancing off the mark too quickly. There you saw it. So Jordan Turner taking over the kicking duties to give St Helens a 1 point and possibly a match-winning lead. Time in the game yet, though. Here's Logan Tompkins. Wigan desperately searching for position again here. It's a head down and a charge. Now, do they think about the 1 pointer here? Matty Smith is certainly well placed. Here it comes to Smith, who has to hurry. Over it goes. All square again. 16 points apiece. Where does this game turn next? It's level. It's wonderful. And there's 5 minutes to play. They'll be looking for a big kick. Put St Helens on the back foot if they can, but it's taken well here by Makinson, who's in a hurry to return. Makinson on the outside of two. Here comes Makinson. Farrell's across to make the tackle and just about hangs on. But what about this? Turner quickly away. St Helens coming in away, and Greenwood will score. Joe Greenwood has won it for St Helens. Unbelievable. Fantastic drama at Langtree Park, and St Helens at the last have picked the pockets of Wigan. Fantastic return by Makinson, and when he was stopped, the belief remained. Eventually out to Greenwood, and on a mixed night for him, he scores the match winner. And how important is that to St Helens?
A fantastic game. What are those games like to play in?
Wigan Saints games historically have been, some of the, best attended games in the competition, and also some of the most ferocious games in terms of the intensity and the physical nature of them. So to play in another absolute cracker of a derby was a real privilege. Obviously a few standout moments in the game. Pat Richards' drop goal, intentional drop goal from the halfway line, was looked to be a heartbreaking moment in the game, but the game was one of those entertaining games where it was always in the balance, and we thankfully finished very strongly, won the game.
When you look back, though, at 2013, do you think there were enough really close games like that?
I think for the real rugby fans out there, every game's entertaining for some reason, but for the neutrals, I think we've got to look at how we can make every game as entertaining as the top ones, and I think just looking at the World Cup and how competitive the games have been in the World Cup in the group stage, it shows that that competition and that closeness of competition creates interest and creates drama and stories, and I think if you look at the NRL compared to Super League, one of the big differences in the two competitions is the point spread, average point spread on a game, and there tends to be a bigger gap in our games, and so there's a lot of 40 points to 10, those kinds of scores, and those are the games
who finished bottom in 2012 but ended this year in 10th. A double victory over Warrington gave the fans plenty to be happy about in 2013.
What we have been this year has been we've been competitive. Some of the highlights of the year, like last year we struggled with our away form, and this year we've beaten Bradford away, we've been St Helens away, we've been Warrington away. So we've had some real highs on our travels. There's been some highlights, but again the consistency in delivering that to get points on the board have been one of those things that we need to keep improving on.
Wakefield never quite found the form that took them to the playoffs in 2012. Some big names have already left Bellevue, but they're hanging on to captain Danny Kermond, who earned a spot in the Super League Dream Team.
He's a great bloke in getting everyone together, but also leading by example. I think he's got a really good blend of when to be have a laugh and a joke, but then also when to lead by example. And he's certainly grown into the role over the last 12 months, and everyone really respects him in our group, and he leads by his actions as well.
We've had a few good wins, a few performances that have not been up to the standard that we've set ourselves really this year. That's been the disappointing thing really. When we've put ourselves in good positions, we've not backed it up the weekend after.
Enters them out of dummy half. Here's Rangi Chase. Little run at Sinfield and away again. Where's he going now? Dummy shown, and Chase has found the gap here as well. Rangi Chase, what about that for a pass? Didn't look, and Webster scores.
Cass failed to build on an early win against Leeds, and coach Ian Millward left the club in April. Daryl Powell made the switch from Featherstone to take over.
It's a great place, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy being here. It's somewhere I've been a massive amount of times watching the team in the past, and really looking forward to the challenge that's in front of me. The key, from my perspective, is to make sure that the future's strong, and that's going to be partly about the job that I do, partly the way that the players go about the business, and obviously if we start to get more people interested in the team and watching the team, which is a fundamental part of the business.
Is the one that finished rock bottom in 2013. The Salford City Reds have been reborn as the Salford Red Devils, and their owner has big plans for them. He's brought his new look squad here to Wolverhampton Races for a day out. A new club, a whole new group of players. How's it all slotting together so far?
Really well, actually. It's very exciting times. Lots of new players, lots of new coaching staff, and I've been enjoying getting to know my new teammates, and they do things differently, and no, it's exciting, and yeah, can't wait to get stuck into it now.
You should be off on your holidays at the moment. You were keen to get in, weren't you, and meet all the guys?
Yeah, I got told I could come back in January, but I thought it was a good idea for me, just to have a few weeks off, especially because we've got a lot of new players, a lot of new faces around. It's important for me as a halfback to get in there and get to know people, you know, and get to know the players and stuff, things like that. So I thought, for me personally, it was important.
It must be buzzing because it's a good squad now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's competition for places that Salford's probably never had before. They've got there's going to be lads missing out next year in games of playing regular Super League, so it keeps everyone on the toes and it's only good for us.
Marwan, obviously racing is a sport that you know. What is it that got you into racing? What do you love about racing?
The involvement of coming out for days out like this and seeing my horses run and having winners. I'm a winner.
So how does owning a rugby league club compare with owning 80-odd racehorses?
Owning horses is a lot easier because I could control which horse I buy, where I run it, and what the jockey, whichever jockey I want to choose. Whereas with rugby, obviously, when I came in, I wasn't aware of the restrictions on who I could buy, the amount of money that I could spend, etc. So that's very frustrating for me. I mean, my first priority was to build a team in Salford, a competitive team. And when I came and I started saying I wanted people like Tompkins, Morley, Chase, etc., and everybody was laughing at me, thinking it's a PR stunt. So far, we've signed almost everybody we wanted. Obviously, I'd love to bring in people like the Sonny Bill Williams and the Billy Slaters, etc. But it's not up to me. I have to basically work within the salary cap or ask for an exemption from RFL. And RFL are not willing to do that. They just leave it to Super League clubs to vote for marquee players. And the last time we voted, it was 11 against 3.
What do you think if you could bring Sonny Bill Williams in? What could he do for Salford and for the game in this country?
The likes of Sonny Bill Williams or Billy Slaters, which I call the superstars of this game, it will indicate a reversal of the trend of the better quality players going to the other side. And if he comes here, look, I have no doubt he will be putting 4,000 or 5,000 people in any match he goes to, whether it's at Salford, Wakefield, Bradford, Wigan, etc. He's the type of player Super League is desperate for.
You said you're a winner. So what targets have you set for Brian Noble and this new look squad for 2014?
Well, he has to finish in the top 8. That's the very minimum. And genuinely, I think with the addition of 1 or 2 players we're bringing in, we have to be looking at a top 4 place.
The new Super League season gets underway on Friday, February the 7th, when champions Wigan take on last year's league leaders Huddersfield. That's been brought forward a week to give Wigan time to prepare for the World Club Challenge in Sydney. Everyone else gets going a week later when Warrington against St Helens is amongst the highlights in round 1. Well, with me is the Salford coach Brian Noble. Brian, a lot of talking to be done about the future shape of Super League. What do you hope they will decide?
That some decisions are made. We don't know. The reality of where we're at is we don't know what's happening at the back end of next year, whether 2 will come up or 2 will go down, or whether 2 12s or 15 16s or 5s. So give us some idea of where we're going to, make some decisions and make hay whilst the sun's shining, because we have great momentum about the game, and it's important that if we have any problems that we fix the roof while the sun's shining and everybody likes the product.
Would you like to see it go down to a smaller league, less clubs in there?
I think we'd all like to see the competition go to a product that every week probably the results in doubt, and if we're all honest, that's not been the case over the last couple of years, couple of seasons. So whilst there's been the odd shock in the main, it's been that element of predictability that we need to get away from, and intensity levels need to rise, and the only way you're going to do that, I feel, is to probably reduce the number of clubs or find a mechanism whereby we can get more players of quality into the game so we can furnish that amount of players and clubs.
You have an extremely ambitious owner. He wants to change the rules, he wants things changing. Are you backing him in that? Do you want to see that?
Well, you have to look at what it does to the product. Is it a good idea for the product? Yes. Is it a good idea to try and get more money into the game and better stars and have a better product and a better spectacle? Well, I think the World Cup pointed the way there, so that has to be a yes. So I'm absolutely wholeheartedly supporting.
And stop our biggest stars going to Australia?
Yeah, and bring some stars back from rugby union. These are all great ideas in principle, but at least we're talking about them, and at least we're trying to find ways and ideas whereby we're back on the lips of everybody.
And are you optimistic about the future of the sport at the moment?
I am. I think we need to sort out this domestic strife, because apparently at the moment we're all in limbo. We don't know what we're doing, so that needs to be sorted. And then we need to get back to what we do really, really well. The players produce a fair, that's worthy of anybody's attention.
Well, that's just about it for our look back at the Rugby League year. We are back in February with our weekly highlights programme from the new season. Have a great Christmas, and we will leave you with some memorable moments from 2013. Goodbye.
More punches have been thrown here. Well, this is going to take some breaking up. Oh, my goodness, Castleford falling apart here. Chris Green with a try at the dead. And Hawkins, the Rovers can't believe what has just transpired. Unbelievable. And Owens will score. It's game on now. They're in the ascendancy now, no doubts. A piece of silverware at last for Huddersfield. Absolutely clinical, sensational stuff. What a night and what an occasion.